All right, so far this presentation we've talked specifically about copyright laws and what exactly they are, and also a copyright itself. We've talked about court cases and court findings with regards to copyright laws specifically. We've also talked about copyright laws and their link into education and into the classroom. Now we will kind of jump into talking about copyright laws in action, or in my experience in the classroom, copyright laws that I have seen in their place in the classroom. So, as previously stated, I believe teachers should be able to use whatever materials necessary to help their students achieve and succeed in the classroom, whether or not these materials are copyrighted or not. But that being said, we still must understand copyright and fair use laws as educators and be able to navigate through and around these with these laws in order to best help our students achieve. And I believe so far this semester there have been several situations that I've encountered in my clinical practice classrooms that involve these copyright issues. One of the first issues I wanted to talk about was the use of copyrighted materials during one of my lessons, specifically the showing of a video clip to the class. We were actually in our World War II unit talking about the meat of World War II, the battles. We were actually specifically talking about D-Day, and I thought it would be fine to show a short educational clip to the class talking specifically about D-Day. And I didn't really think about copyright laws at the time, but after a talk with my master teacher, we just needed to identify if this was something that we'd be able to fairly use under that Fair Use Act. And in most cases involving classroom learning and copyrighted materials, it usually turns out fine. As long as you are using it in a classroom setting, you are not making money off of it. Going back to that fourth point of how will your use of this affect the market from that Fair Use Act, there will be no market effect as I'm just showing this to a classroom of students for educational informational purposes, which will they will be learning from that video specifically. Other situations that I've encountered are also the use of copyrighted materials in written work as well. I must admit that I kind of thought that plagiarism and copyright laws were kind of the same thing. They, in fact, are actually not. They are two distinct things, but I think it is worth mentioning when we're doing a writing assignment to mention copyright laws and plagiarism kind of in the same sentence. And I did that with a written assignment done in my clinical practice world history class this semester. We talked a little bit about copyright and plagiarism as well. And another situation that might be involved in the classroom is the use of digital or electronic copyrighted materials, not just by myself, as we had already talked about the use of my video, but by students as well. We have had several presentations or projects this semester that involved digital media use by these students. And while I forgot to really kind of address this in my initial directions for one of these specific projects, I was reminded gently by my master teacher to make sure to remind students that they are not infringing upon copyright laws. In fact, they probably won't be, as this is just being shown in a classroom, and most research that I've done into this found that use in the classroom in a very minimal setting, minimal use of the product inside whatever presentation is usually fine and covered under that Fair Use Act. But it's worth mentioning that we as educators should know these copyright laws most definitely, and also the Fair Use Act, which allows us the use of copyrighted materials, so we do not infringe or are liable for suits brought against us, our school district, as we might infringe upon these copyright laws. Thank you.